we got two classes today, right? I'm not going to lecture both the classes. I will give you some tasks. We'll do a bit of things over here. I'll demonstrate a few things, then I'll leave it on you guys to try it out on your own. Okay? So what we were talking about in our last class is that we have this Make Human tool that lets us create 3D models for human characters, and then we can take these 3D characters into any other 3D modeling tool like Blender. It could be 3D Studio Max or Autodesk Maya. You can take these models to any of these tools, then do some further editing there, or you can also animate them. Now Make Human already has a rig built in. You can pose the characters over here, you can set up a render, you can take renders, still renders of the character itself right within Make Human, but since we're using Blender for our animation and other stuff, what we'd be doing over here is primarily we'd set up the model over here, we'll take it to Blender and then do the rest. So I will go with a very basic setup over here. I mean, what I want to show you is just using the rig to control the character. In our previous class I showed you an example where we had a very nice rig built in. It's called a blend rig. I downloaded that from BlendSwap. It had a detailed character and we could move that. Let me see if I can find it. It should be saved somewhere. Yeah, this is a blend rig. So this is the character that we were looking at, and you see that we have very nice control, not with the bones but with the rigs. So I can actually, where is it? I can lift the legs like this. I have a lot of control over the entire body of this person. Okay, so this is what is known as a rig. You don't see the bones here. The bones are probably somewhere in other layers, perhaps. Yeah. Now you sort of see the bones, right? Some of the bones are showing up. In Blender there is an option to show the bones in straight lines like this. So that's what we see here. Okay. Usually what we saw in our previous classes is that in Blender we have bones in the shape of something like this. But there is a head and a tail. Something like this, but it's also possible that you have two vertices and a stick in between. So that's what you see over here. Okay, it's just a matter of display, but it's the same bone. So we have a nice little rig built in for this particular character, but you don't see the same rig for another character, and that's a problem because you have a model from somewhere else. This is done by some guy, Nick, and maybe you build a different character over here. Okay, it doesn't really matter. So this is some generic person, right? And you take this character back into Blender and you cannot really use the same rig anymore because the structure of the body wouldn't match, and the bone itself is tied to that mesh already, so it's hard to separate it out and make it work for this same thing. So in today's class what I would like to focus on is how you can take a character and then easily build a very nice set of bones. You don't have to start with a single bone and then extrude it upwards and downwards like we did before. Obviously that would also work, but then that's a lot of work. So is there any better way to do this thing? That's what we're going to study today. Okay. So let me just export this as a simple wavefront OBJ. I didn't bring in any extra stuff, like I didn't bring in the clothes, I didn't bring in the hair, although this is very much possible to generate all of that within MakeHuman. But I just want to animate this character, so the focus is going to be on this guy. So please don't get hurt that this guy doesn't have any clothes on. We can obviously add the clothes on later on, right? So we need to show where this character is going to be exported. And let's say it's going to override the mail object that we have. Okay. So that's the step, that you create this MakeHuman character and then you export this into wavefront OBJ or the other formats. They will also work, and you can import them in other formats as well if you have the formats available in Blender. Now, what you do really, like when you create a realistic model that looks like a particular person, what you need to do is you have to take a lot of screenshots of that person. How does the person look from the front or from the side, so that you can match the facial features of that person, right? This person doesn't really look like anyone at all. Okay. So within MakeHuman, there is a nice way to add a background, or multiple backgrounds really. Where was it? I forgot what tab it is in, but let me show you this thing. This is what's important really. When you install MakeHuman, you have to go to V1, and there is this thing called backgrounds. I think you have to put some pictures over here first to get those options. So this is where you put all these pictures from different angles: the front view, the side view, the top and bottom view. If you have some angle views from different angles, you place them all in the backgrounds, and then you should be able to see them in the background, and you can control a whole lot how this will appear. The idea is that you have to match this character with the person that you're going to build it for. Okay. So that's not really a focus right now. We'll look into that when we look into texturing. We'll try to make a character that looks like someone, right? I don't know what person, but it would be someone. So once we export that from MakeHuman, the next step is obviously to come and bring this thing. So we go File, Import, Wavefront OBJ. Oh, I left it on my desktop. So that's this male character we got. We say Import OBJ, and then you get this huge person. Okay, the scale is totally off, and by default, when you bring something from MakeHuman to Blender, this is what you get. One thing you can do right away is that you can take this entire character and scale it down to whatever is meaningful to you, or you can reset the camera, you can reset the lamp and everything else. So depending on if you have a total scene set up already, like let us just imagine that we have a room built within this cube, and this character is too big, so we can obviously reduce the size of this character so that it fits within that room. Okay, that's what I'm saying, right? So either you do that, or you just readjust these two things. Okay, so I'll just go easy over here. I need to take the eyes. The eyes are marked as high poly object, and what I'd like to do is I want to see that they fit in over here. One thing you need to notice is that the origin of this character is not inside the belly, it's at the feet. So everything is going to be scaled up and down from the origin. Okay, so something like this, and then we can lock the camera to view to to make sure that we see this person right, and if you want to see this entire character in one go, maybe that'll do, and we can try rendering it out. The problem is we don't have many lamps, and they're obviously not set up in the right place. So let me easily set up a 3-point light setup. Like there will be two in front and one at the back, maybe at varying heights. And the key light will be closer over here. Okay. Now that's probably too much light, but not really a problem. We can obviously adjust this. So right now we see the model. We can render a still image. We can render animation. There are quite a few problems. You can notice right away that you see all these faces separately, and that's because we have flat shaded enabled by default. We don't have smooth shading, so that's a very simple fix. Another problem that you see is that this person's skin is too oily, I guess. That's why we have a lot of shine, and that's again very easy to control. So for both these things, first of all, you can enable smooth shading, and that takes care of one of the issues. Okay, that's better. And the other issue needs to be fixed over here at the material level. You see, for specular, we have a color and we have full intensity for the specular, and the hardness is also way up. Now, let me enable rendered view so that I can see the changes right away. If I drop the intensity, you'll see that it's not as prominent anymore, and I can also drop the hardness. Okay, that's how it doesn't look so shiny anymore. Now maybe that's a better feel overall. Okay, so these are the things you need to fix when you bring the model into Blender from Make Human, and once you have it in place, then we have to build this armature. Okay. Now what we did in our previous class, we started off with a single bone. So let us do that one more time. We started off with a single bone, and then we rotated that on the x-axis, well, not like that, on the x-axis by 90 degrees. We placed that bone somewhere over here, and from there on we started modeling, right? Well, I don't have X-ray enabled. Now I do. So we went on extruding like this, right? And then went sideways, went down, and built the entire thing. That's not what I want to do today. Okay. So if you go into Blender, when you press Shift A, go to Armature, you only get this option to add a single bone. But there is a built-in add-on. You don't have to download anything extra. You just go to User Preferences and then search for Rig, R-I-G. The name of this thing is Rigify. So Rigify. If you put a check mark to this, and you can save the user settings so that the next time you start Blender, you don't have to enable it again. Okay. So let me zoom up and show you what I did. So in the search box, I just searched for Rig, and the add-on that I'm picking, the add-on section is right here. It says right up on top. There are multiple tabs in the user preferences. I went to the add-ons. So if you click on Rigify, you can get this thing. And then I just hit Save User Settings. So what that does for me is now I can hit Shift A, and see, now I got so many options. So this is Blender, what release is it? 2.79. Now the last time I was using it in class, I had options for two things, the human meta-rig, and there was something called Peachy Poi, which is not here right now. What they have done is they have reworked this and brought in some other animals as well. So if you create a horse, perhaps you can get a rig for a horse. Okay. So let me just do that. I haven't seen this before. That's why I'm interested. See, that's a very nice little bone structure for a horse right there. Now definitely this is not going to work for a human, right? Although this looks like this person is riding this horse already. Okay. So what we are going to do instead is we will go with this, let's see, a basic human. Okay, let's start with the simplest one. Okay. So you see that it has the arms and legs and feet and everything already built in place. So what we need to do is we need to put this thing, we need to scale it up, put it in the right place, and then half our task is done. Okay. So you don't have to create the bones by yourself. These are already done and you just control that. However, the one that I would like to pick is Human meta-rig. It looks quite similar, just as we had before, but it should give you some extra control, which we will see shortly. Okay. So now that we have this thing here, we need to match it up with this guy. They're not lining up properly, and this is something that takes some time to get it right, and probably that would be a good reason for letting you guys try it on your own, so that you can fix this thing. That get a model from Make Human and then try setting up this rig on your own. So I will enable this X-ray view. See, we have the facial bones as well. Okay. We're going to go into edit mode for this. Okay, that's not good. Where's the origin for this? Should be right at the fit. So I pressed dot or period so that we can scale right from the origin. And now I'd like to make sure that it matches up with this person as closely as possible. Alright? Now, the human body structure is not the same for every person. Some would have longer torsos, some would have longer legs, some would have longer necks. So when I scale up this basic armature, maybe it's not going to line up properly with the model that you're picking. So for example, what is bothering me a little bit right now, that the face is matching right, however the shoulder is not at the right place. Okay, so we need to fix that a little bit, because I probably want this thing up here. Okay, now when you want to make those changes, you want to have X-axis mirror enabled, so that if you make a change in one place, it also works for the other one. Okay, so for both these things, I probably want to put the shoulder joint somewhere over here. Okay, but at the same time, what you need to make sure is that they line up properly from all angles, which it didn't do. So you need to bring this in place. Is this clear? Okay. Now the next part is a little bit tricky. You'd see that the actual mesh says that the arm is going to go like this, but the arm is over here. So we need to bring this into place, right? It needs to be brought over here. What I could do is I could just grab this and bring it over here. Okay, that's one way to do it, but that's probably not the right way to do it. the entire thing and the angle will get screwed. So that's why, even though it would take time, what I'd ask you to do is to set a pivot point over here. How do you set a pivot point? Pivot point is a point against which you rotate, you scale or translate. So this is going to be like a joint and we're going to rotate around it. That's what I mean by a pivot point. So to set up this pivot point, this is really easy. You just say Shift S and you put your cursor to selected. That's how the 3D cursor itself, which was down at the origin, our 3D cursor was here, now the 3D cursor jumps over here. What that does is that you can set period so that all your rotation, your scaling and everything will be against the 3D cursor. And how that helps is if you now select all these things, I did so with a box select, B for box, and then you can drag this thing to select everything like that. And then you can sort of rotate this and try to make sure that they match up. Now I did that from one angle. I have to look at it from other angles as well. Okay. So the person who built the rig certainly didn't model this person as well. This is a different model that we brought in from MakeHuman. So there will be obviously some sort of discrepancy here and there, and you need to account for it. So I'm trying to go as closely as possible, but still we see that the scale is a little bit off, right? This person has shorter upper arm than what the rig suggests, so we need to scale that accordingly so that it fits. Now once that's done, and I think this is okay for now. Okay. If I had more time to spend on this, I'd probably spend more and make sure that they are perfect, but that's probably not a requirement in class. Now, if you understand the drill, what we do is we change the pivot point because that's the point that I want to move everything from the elbow joint right now. How do we do it? Shift S, cursor to selected, and we already have the pivot point set at 3D cursor, so everything is going to be rotating against that. Again, box select everything over here that needs to rotate, and then check over here to see whether you got this one right. Check from the front. Yeah, definitely it's not in the right place. So I think I'll just use a little bit of scaling. Okay. Looks sort of okay, not so much well. You really need to look at this thing from many different angles just to make sure that this is indeed fitting it in the right way. So you'd be moving around and that pretty much looks okay, I guess. Right? I mean, I'm only considering this part for now. I'm not looking at this now. Alright, that's another issue. You can see that the rotation of the palm, it's not right, but we can fix that later on. So one thing at a time, and you really have to spend a considerable amount of time to make sure that the fingers match up. That's the trickiest part for me. So right now what I'd like to do is I'd change the pivot point one more time. Select all these bones and perhaps give it a little bit of a rotation. The thumb is not going to line up yet. Okay, that's probably a better angle to control this. Okay. And for these individual bones, what we do is that we select that, we press Shift S, set cursor to selected, and then select all these bones, rotate and line them up. Okay? Looks sort of alright. well, not really, the digits are not lining up properly. You see, I mean, these are okay, I guess, but this part is not, and this entire thing needs to be placed better. So again, Shift S cursor to selected, select these two bones, rotate them and put them back in place. Okay. You just have to do it for the entire setup, and if you do it for one of the hands, the other hand is just going to work just like that. Okay, so the next step would be to fix each and every finger that we see over here, and that's why this is a little bit tedious step. So set cursor to selected and select all these bones, and then rotate them, place them in the right way. Okay. I guess I'm not going to do it for the remaining digits because it's the same principle. You need to spend a bit of time for this to get it right. But I'd actually like to focus on the major bones now. Okay? Make sure that you get it right when you try it for yourself. Do it right, because otherwise you won't be able to control the hands. If you want to grab an object or you want to show some gestures, they're not going to show right if you don't line up the finger bones accordingly. Okay? But that's pretty much common sense. Okay. Next are the legs, and we can set this bone as a pivot point. Then select all these bones. It would work with a very simple rotation, so no big deal. Just spread it out so that it matches with the legs, and look at it. It's pretty decent already. Maybe a little bit over here, and also, well, this bone needs to be scaled properly so that it rests with the knee joint, and then we have to make sure that the ankle sits right, which it pretty much does. And I think it would do, right? I mean, I can go for perfection, but I think that's all right, just the way it is. So what's the step again? We went into user preferences, looked for an add-on called Rigify. I typed it in, got the rig, brought it in, and then we went into edit mode, set up the rig right, and that's where we are at right now. Okay. So let me save this thing. To somewhere like my desktop or somewhere else. I'm just naming it humanrig.blend. And as you can imagine that once we have this rig set up, what we can do, like we did in our previous class, right click on the mesh, right click on the bones, and hit Ctrl P, then set up the parent with automatic weights. We did that before. Okay, so when we do so, if you go into the pose mode, you should be able to rotate things, and this is not working right because it's working against the 3D cursor. The 3D cursor is over here, that's why the rotation and the scale, they're all off. So what we do is we change that to our active element or median point, whichever you want. You just hit comma, and that's what it is, that it takes the root of that bone over here, and that's actually better. Okay, so for the other parts, yeah, we can move them around. We have an issue with the eyeballs. They are not rigged right now. They need to be placed along with the head so that they stay within the head, but we can look at it later on. So as you can see that all these parts, they're moving. Okay. Now there are a few things that I want to show over here. That we have set up this bone and everything, and we have also parented this. What I'm going to do is I will go for another version, where I make these changes, and then I will come back to how I left it before. I want to show you these things in two different ways. That's the reason I do it like this. So let's just say that this is our human rig V2. All right. We have this automatic weight setup. So you need to understand the concept behind it. What's actually happening when you set up a parent like this? It controls the bones around this, the meshes around this bone. So this particular character has an internal bone structure, right? That's what we have set up. But if you look at the mesh itself, what is it? It's a polygon mesh. There are a lot of polygons tied together to make this thing. Okay. So what we are really doing over here, if we go back, if you look at this mesh structure, what you're doing is when you move these bones, you're actually controlling these vertices that are around this bone. Okay. And you need to say which vertices are going to be affected by this bone. Okay, there is no direct link right here. You see, when I stretch the arm like this, okay, part of this region is also getting affected. Okay. And that happens in our human character, and for any organic model that happens, that you have to deform them. Okay. The surrounding parts need to be deformed. What I find a little bit odd though is that the way you stretch this, if you go for this angle, we can definitely lift our arms like this, but this right here looks really very odd. Okay. The reason being, I mean, these parts are not getting affected when I stretch this part like so. Okay. Now this is what you get with the default setup with automatic weights, because Blender doesn't know exactly what you want to do. And this is the time where you say that I am going to select this thing and go into weight paint. So we looked into three things already from that menu, from the mode menu. We looked into the object mode, we looked into edit mode, and then we also looked into the pose mode. Now this is something new. This is called the weight paint, and this is where you can possibly see already with the coloring that with that particular bone, the red part says that this is going to be affected the most. The green part will a little less, from red, yellow, green, and then the blue ones, they're not going to get affected at all. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if you'd like to say that I want to change this thing, that I want the other parts to be affected, like the muscles over here, these meshes, they need to get affected as well. You can do so from the weight paint. See, there are tools over here, there are brushes, and this is the draw brush. So again, you need a lot of time to fix this, to get it right, but just to show you that we can add just by drawing, and that's a very crude thing. I mean, the way I did it. See, now when I move this shoulder, the other parts are getting affected as well. Okay, but they're getting affected a lot. I don't want to do this. I mean, definitely I want to affect them, but maybe not so much. See, the reason why it happened is because I added that with full weight. So what I can do is now I can either soften that, or I can subtract actually. I can subtract part of it. So I'll go and just brush over and see, since I'm not subtracting 100% weight, I'm only subtracting 50% weight, so I can actually reduce it gradually. So if I drag my brush along, it will get erased little less, like so. Okay, and perhaps I want to add a little bit more. That let us go back to the add one. And this time around, I will go gradually, so even lower than that, and I will add a little bit more tension to this deltoid region over here. So yeah, that'll do. If I had all day, I'd probably spend all day behind it. So now, see, that's much more natural. This is still going to be weird. Okay, I didn't want to go for that kind of rotation. See, the problem right now is that we have no control over here, and we'd probably be adding a bit of movement around this region as well. So you have to look at the shoulder joint, and yeah, what Rana is doing himself, yeah, you'd have to do that as well. You need to understand how your body moves or how other people's body moves, what are the parts that get affected. So you need to understand that in order to make sure that your model moves the right way. See, we got a problem right there that if I move like this, that part sticks out because it's getting affected too much. So again, reduce the tension a bit over here. Okay. And all these things, they take time. You can go to the pose mode. Well, I'm at the body level, so when you're testing this out, you'll probably have to move the bones around, but that's not really a problem because you can always go back to the pose mode, select the bone and go back to the pose mode, and reset that by clearing the transform and going back to this thing. So let us look at this one again, this weight paint. For the weight paint to work, you have to select one bone at a time and fix the regions. So the way to do it is you select the bone and it's going to light up the mesh accordingly, that which parts are getting affected by which bone. So again, this one would take a lot of time, that you take your entire mesh, look into each and every bone that you have inside, and make sure that you have the weight paint set up in a way that all the parts that need to get affected are being affected in a proper way. Obviously, when I'm moving the right arm, the left arm shouldn't get affected, and that's how it is. That if you select this bone, you see that there is no relation over here. So when you do the texture painting, make sure that you don't screw it up. Go slow, fix things, the major parts. When you move your bones in your body, when you do that, make sure that the major parts are done right. Okay. Yeah, you can watch a few videos on YouTube to see how people move. There should be a lot of videos on human anatomy for medical students, where they talk about how the muscles work, how the bone structure works. You need to have a look at some of those videos to understand how the human body works, because this is what you are going to reflect over here. So is this thing clear? So this is for automatic weights, and you go and do this thing, then you control this entire setup. Now, I'd like to show you a few more things before I show you something a bit different. So let us go back to the object mode, and I want to come back to the bones and everything. See, we're at full freedom to control these bones, that we can move them like this. Okay? And also like so. But for most humans, this is not going to be possible. Okay? And there is no real reason why you're going to allow such things. So what you should do when you have set up these things, you should go to the bone constraints tab, okay, to set up some of the constraints. Now we had, let me zoom it up and show you where this really is. So that's the bone constraints tab, and where I'm zoomed up like this, let me show you some of these options. So I can actually limit the location, limit the rotation, all these things from here. And there are many other tracking options as well, which I can't really explain right now. This is a little bit advanced stuff. Some of these things we will look into in future, but let us do the easy stuff first. Let's say I want to limit the rotation on this particular thing. Okay, right now it has the full freedom, there is no limit, but I can control this. I can say that let's say we're rotating on X, right? So the X rotation should be limited. Right now this is from 0 to 0. Now I'm allowing the rotation from 0 to 90 degree. See? Definitely this is not right. Okay, I understand that. I mean, this is 0 degree, this is 90 degrees. Okay? So give me some realistic figures. What should be the minimum angle and what should be the maximum angle so that we can rotate the price from here. Give me some values. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. We can try this out, and if it doesn't work, we will obviously adjust that. From 0 to 270. Okay, the problem with that is going to be that you can take, so positive angles is not going to help much. Let us try with something in the negative region. So let us try this out. Let's say I want to limit this. I mean, probably I will bring it to this level, but we'll do that later on. Right now, what should be this angle? Minus 45. All right, let's try with minus 45. And what is this then? Minus 45, and then we're going into negative again, right? Minus 45 minus something like 180. So that's going to be how much? That's 8 and 4, that's 2, and then 1, 225, right? So from minus 45, you go up to minus 225. So the minimum value is 225, and the maximum value over here is minus 45. So let us try this out. Yeah. It doesn't go beyond this, and if you lift your legs up, you can go and reach up to this low. Well, something's wrong. Probably I have to use positive angles over here somewhere. Let me leave it as, let us try this out, 91. 90. That's the other part. Now, I mean, it allows me to go like this, okay, but I want the other region. So let me go with positive angles. I think that's easier done like that. Minimum is 180 and maximum, let's say, well, not 180, 160 perhaps. Yeah, that'll do. And then add. Yeah, 320. All right, 320. No, that doesn't look right. It doesn't let me go beyond this. There's something odd about the min-max. I have to look it up, how they're fixing this. What did we have over here? Minus 45. Yeah, I can't get it right. I cannot get this right. Why not this? It works one way, but not the other way. Just hello. Process it. Let me see, I changed it from wall space to local space. I don't know whether this is going to work, but let me try this thing. This is kind of odd that this is not working because I have used it before. This is even worse, right? So, I don't know. Well, I'm going to look this up. and I'll let you know in the next class because I'm wasting time over here. We can certainly add the bone constraint, and that's actually a better thing to do because we know that what are the limits over here. So when we look from this side, we will perhaps limit the rotation from here to maybe there. So depending on the flexibility that you want to achieve over here, you're going to limit that as well. So on all the axes that we have, we're going to limit the rotation at least. Okay. So since I couldn't do it over here, let me take it off, and in the next class I'll try and let you know how to do it right. So that's one of the things, is that first of all you need to set up the breakpoint right, then you have to add the proper bone constraints, and once you're done with all that, you're pretty much good to go. You will do some animation with this. Okay. So where I want to go with this one is I'll show you a simple animation, and that would be a walk animation. Let's say I want to make this character walk. Okay. So we'll do that, and then hopefully if I get time I'll show you how you can do it in a much easier way with the help of rigs. This is the armature, and the rigs are the controls that you can, I just showed you right at the beginning of the class that you have different shapes and you can move the parts of the body accordingly. Okay. Okay, so that was the failed attempt with bone constraint, and now I want to make this character walk. But before I do so, I want to go on YouTube to see how people do this walk animation. All right. So you can just search on YouTube to look at the walk animations, and the most interesting and useful video that I found for this purpose, I have seen this before, is this Alan Baker's animation, the walk cycle. I'm not going to play this entire video, alright, but if you listen to this and look at all these steps, he explains this quite nicely, how to make a character walk. It doesn't have to be a human character, even a parrot can walk. this is what I find most helpful, that he breaks it apart into all these different sprites. What happens when you transfer your weight and go to the next step. Okay. One very simple thing that you notice when people walk, that if I put my left foot forward, then I'm going to take my right arm forward, and this left arm will go back. Okay, so I'm swinging my arms around me when I'm walking. That's going to happen. So when the right arm goes up, the left foot goes up as well, goes forward. Okay, and you need to transfer the weight, so there has to be movement on your feet as well. It's not going to stay stiff. So that's something you need to fix as well. Watch this video. Okay, I'm not going to play this whole thing right now. So here's this 4-step thing. You have to contact the ground. You have to press down on the other feet. Then you pass, and then you lift your leg up. Okay. With 2 poses, you could, well, this is interesting. So you can just do this animation with 2 poses, as he's showing, that you alternate between these 2 poses, but it's not going to look realistic. If you go for 4 poses, that's going to look much more realistic. Okay. And there are many other videos. That's for an animation on a drawn character, on a drawn 2D character. But if you look at a female standard walk, I mean, there is this endless reference. I love this channel because you can see real people doing real moves, be it walk or punch or kick, whatever it is. There are a lot of references. See how this girl is walking, and you can also see the front view. So you see when people walk, the height changes actually, and that has to be taken into account. Okay, let me play that one more time. See, the height is changing. It's not just about moving the feet when we walk. It's not just our feet move. We also have to move a lot of other parts as well. Okay. So you need to look into that, and obviously there is difference in how people walk, how a female character would walk versus a male character would walk, how a old person would walk versus how a young person would walk, and also depends on personality of the person as well, how they're walking. All right. So you have to take all these things into consideration based on the model that you're doing. But that's a bit too much to talk about right now. Let us do a very simple thing. Let us just make this character walk. It's going to be a very simple walk initially. So like Alan Baker showed us that we can do it with 2 poses. Let us just do it right then. So in the 2 poses, what you do is, let's say I lift my leg up and bend my knee like so, and the opposite one will go up as well, right? So maybe it looks like so, and we will also bring this arm back like this. Okay. What happens for the other part? That this leg goes back, and perhaps like so. Okay. Yeah, we'll see some problems that my feet is not touching the ground. That's an issue. So maybe this is the passing, and then we will contact the ground, or I can actually rotate and try to touch the ground, which is not going to happen. See, what happens over here is that we'll have some more bend, and maybe the ground will be at this level, which also tells us that we need to shift this character down so that we can capture this. Now let us just do it for 2 poses, and we'll fix these things later on. So I'm going to select all the bones and insert the whole character. I just don't want to do it for rotation. I could do it for rotation, but let's keep life simple over here. And for the next pose, what happens is that I have to take this one forward, the other one back, and the same thing happens for the legs. It's easy to understand, right? Blender makes life easy for us. We can copy this thing. Okay, let me zoom it up and show you where we got these controls. We have very nice copy-paste features within Blender. See? This is for copying, this is for pasting, and this is for pasting inverse. Okay? So you can see even in the zoom level, I'll leave it like that. I can copy this, and when I come over here, this is the regular pose, and this is the let's just insert the whole character again. I think that worked already. Yep. So I just copied this from here, went to this frame where I want to do the second pose, and I pasted using the second one, which inverted the entire thing. The left one then goes back, the right one then goes forward, and so on. Okay? Now, if you have two such frames, and this is frame number 20, right? Let us try to loop this thing so that we can go back to the previous one. How can you go back to the previous one? You take this. Sorry. Okay. So let me just show you that. We can already start walking, right? But in order to walk, if I loop it over, let me put this end frame at 20, it doesn't look right, right? Because there is a gap, it restarts from there. But we have to have a very smooth movement as we go along. So what we do over here, let us just talk about this. This is the left leg, right? When I go over here, the left leg goes from this point to this point. What happens when you're walking? It has to go back again. Right? The same thing happens over here. This one goes up, and then goes back, and then goes up. So how do you do it? Really easy. You just copy this thing, again, here's this copy, go to, let's say, frame number 40, and at frame number 40, you need to paste this, just as a regular thing. So essentially, frame number 0, or frame number 1, and frame number 40 did the same thing. And now if I end at frame 39, because frame 40 and frame 1, they're the same. So I stopped one frame earlier. See? Now we got a very smooth animation that this guy is walking. He's not moving forward, that's a different issue, but at least he's walking. Is this thing clear? Okay, so let us look at it from the side. Do we have any problem? Actually, we do have a huge problem. So the ground level that I have drawn over here is high up, and as we're walking, we're actually going deeper into the ground. Like we're digging with our feet and then we're going forward. It's not going to happen, right? So what happens over here, at any given time, the entire body has to be above this ground level. Okay. How do we fix that? This is where you see that these two poses, this was basically two poses, right? And I copied the first pose over here. It's not three poses, it's actually two poses, and the last one, the first one got copied like that. So what I'd like to do here is I want to make sure that the the entire body stays up, and for that, at intermediate levels, like at frame number 10, by the way, no one says that it has to be in 40 frames. It can be stretched out if you want to make it slow. It can be sped up if you want to go faster. So right over here, you see that the feet is going deeper into the ground. You don't want to do that, so you just lift the body up over in the z-axis. You put it over here, and then insert the whole character like that. Let us look at frame number 30. We have this problem again. So grab and go up. Make sure that you're over here. So insert the whole character again. So from 2 poses, I'm going into 4 poses. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one is just a repeat. Now that is much more realistic, and that's what happens. That's what I wanted to show you with this girl walking as well. Try to understand. Let's say this is 2, right? When this girl is walking, you'll see that the head is going up and down, up and down. So let us do that. So from 2 to 2.5, 2 to 1.5, 2 to 1.5, it goes up and down. So over here, for this character, it's not the same animation, but it's a little bit exaggerated. But you sort of get the message that you need to do this. There are a lot of issues over here right now that we haven't addressed. Maybe it looks a little bit better than what it was before from the side view, but it doesn't really look great if you look at it from the front. It's a really very weird stance of walking, right? People don't walk like that. Okay. First of all, the arms are spread out too much. Okay. Yeah, the legs may be spread out too much. You can bring them in, and also when we walk, there is a fair bit of movement right in the pelvic region at the hips, and also right at the shoulder. Even try to notice how when people walk, you see that there is a bit of movement right here, and we haven't captured that in here at all. Okay. So again, just to exaggerate this a little bit, this is not going to be perfection in any form, but let me show you what I meant. Is that at the very first frame, what do we have? We have this arm coming up like this. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring in a little bit of tilt right here. Well, actually, I'll bring in a whole lot of tilt just to show you what I meant. In reality, this is not going to be as much. We're going to insert the whole character like that, and we copy it from here. We go to frame number 20. This is where we paste the inverse of it. And insert the whole character. Okay, and we take this initial character from here. So we copy this. We go to the last frame and just paste it, not inverse paste it, but paste it. So there is this little bit of tilt right now, and then you insert this whole character over here. Okay, so when you look at it from the front, alright, so you see a bit of character right now in the walk, that the shoulder is moving. I purposefully moved it way too much than what I needed to do, just to show you the difference that you can do this. Now you can definitely do the rotation over here at the hip joint, so you have something like that, and also you can bring the arms inward. You can fix it for one of the arms, and the other ones can be copy pasted like that in an inverse form, and that's pretty much it. We have a lot of problem with the feet because we are not engaging that in any way. It's very much stiff. that needs to be fixed. So yeah, but I'm not going to do that anyway. So what I want to do right now, I don't want to lecture anymore. I'll just stop it right there. I'll leave it on you guys so that you do the entire thing. You create a very simple character from MakeHuman, export that as OBJ. Or if you can't do that with MakeHuman, get it from any site like GlanceWeb or anything. Which są głowie sekund. To już nie wygląda, trzeba wiele sekund. Sorry about that. So yeah, try to do that. Get this rig thing. Where did I get it from? From the add-ons. So go into user preferences, get the add-on, get Rigify, and then you have to do quite a bit. You have to scale and edit them and make sure that the bones are in the right place. You can also play with automatic weight paint. Well, actually, the weight paint, the automatic weights are already given to make sure that the bones are walking right. Sorry. So yeah, and see if you can do this at least walking animation right. If you can do it like this, that this guy walks on a single spot, you can actually make this character walk along a path. But that's a different topic, alright? At least do this part right. Okay. Any question about any of this? No? So I'll leave it on you guys right now. I'll come back in a bit. I have to look at some of the files. So I'll come back in a bit and see how much you have done, and if you have any problem, let me know then. Okay. So this is going to be the task. Just a bit.